number 1. Here we go. We're back.
It's been almost a month.
Have you ridden a horse before?
Yes.
Okay. Congrats.
Briefly on the beach once. It was pretty guided and very uncomfortable. I did not
wait. Was this like a vacation, like a like a Four Seasons Hawaii? Ooh, let's ride horses on the beach sort of thing.
It was not that fancy. I think it was like the first resort I'd ever gone to. And but it was definitely like a guided on the beach thing. That was
not a Four Seasons couple.
No, it was not a fun time because I just didn't like the looseness of the controls. It's kind of like a hopeful suggestion of where you want the horse to be and what to do and how fast and when to stop. And it was just very uncomfortable for me. Why do you ask?
Well, because I said we're back in the saddle.
Oh, I missed that part.
That was it. Yeah, gotcha. Back in the saddle.
Well, Baltimore is quite famous for one of 3 important horse races that happens every year. Yeah, the Pimlico, I think, something.
No, Preakness.
No, Preakness.
Yeah. One of the crowns from the Triple Crown is here, and
I know it's like who really cares at all about that? I'm not sure, but
people do. I don't know why, but they do, and I love it for
enough
them.
People to sustain an entire. I guess they also host. I believe I could be totally wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure it's the same area or piece of land that hosts the Maryland State Fair and other sort of events. So
just you wait until you hear about the joys of gambling, Sam. It will. Listen. No, I'm not going to talk about that. I met a guy. So I've been doing that baseball stadium thing where I'm taking a project where I'm trying to take a photo of like a documentary series for every baseball stadium. And baseball fans, a lot of baseball fans love betting. Like betting on baseball is a really fun sport to bet on because it's not the
just
variance
in it's like
the variance in the game is bananas, right? And so you can just be like, this guy's gonna get 3 hits. Great, here's whatever, $20. But I met a guy at the top of the Orioles stadium, one of the last times I shot last season, and he was just up there listening to the radio at the very top deck on his own, and I was chatting with him a bit, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I got a lot of money riding on this game." I was like, "Ooh, how much?" And he was like, $20.
Oh,
and I was asking questions. I was like, "Oh, that's amazing. Why? What's up?" And so there are 162 baseball games in a season, and so he gives himself $162 per season to bet on baseball, and if he loses all $162, he doesn't get a bet anymore. But so he will. On certain games, such as the one that I was photographing, where it was pretty clear that the Orioles were going to win by a higher margin of likelihood than normal, he was like, so I put down $20 so I could make back 40 or 50, so I could make enough money that I could then keep doing my little couple dollar bets here and there. And I was like, good for you, buddy. I love that.
Good for you. Yeah.
And I've been thinking about it a lot, just a lot. Because sports gambling is legal everywhere now, or on the internet, and so it's popping up in multiple different states where you can just bet via an app, which is a terrible thing.
DraftKings,
really,
DraftKings, not a sponsor of this episode, but they do sponsor basically every podcast, everywhere, ever, all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And so because I'm a Cubs fan, it's legal. Sports betting is legal in Maryland and Illinois now, and so I'm just inundated with put money on the thing you love the most right now. And I'm like, man, $162 isn't that much, right? That's just oh, okay, yeah, sure, I could do that.
Well, it's a lot to just disappear if in fact you lose.
Yeah.
But
let me tell you, I'm smart. So therefore I wouldn't, I've
done the math.
I have gambled twice in my life. Once I did it at a casino in Washington. I stopped. I needed a restroom, and I was waiting for a friend to get some food, and I was like, "Ooh!" And so I just did a little bit of gambling, won $100 in blackjack over a couple of days. Couple of minutes. There we go. It was like, haha. Like 10 minutes later.
That better be some fun minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
10 minutes later.
Yeah. But then, and then again, I was accidentally in Las Vegas for my 31st birthday for a conference. It was terrible. I hated every second of it. But a friend was like, let's get you to a blackjack table. And he gave me $200 of his own money. And I lost it so fast. Like, so fast.
You said this was blackjack?
Yeah. Well, in my defense, I was also like incredibly inebriated at this point.
Yes.
Which is why I was like, I am not going to. He's like, no. You look like a man who could use another gin and tonic or two. So let's just go to the tables because they'll just bring them to you. They don't like charge for your drinks because they want you drunk. So you lose all your money.
Right.
And so I was like, no, I won't spend any of my money. He's like, I'll spot you. And I was like, no, I'm not doing this. He's like, it's your birthday.
That's gift. Like a drug dealer. Like,
right.
You know what? I'll give you this one for free.
My buddy Bruno really just wanted to hit the blackjack tables. And then we did. And then I lost all his money. And he was like, well, you should go to Taco Bell. You sound like a man who wants to go to the Taco Bell Cantina over by the MGM Grand. So you should just go to Taco Bell and have your birthday quesadilla alone. And I was like, thank you. Finally.
Okay, so this is odd. This is within the span of maybe 2 or 3 days, the third or fourth time blackjack has come up in conversation. So it's odd to me that I'm going to be in Vegas soon for a conference, and it's like, is this the universe signaling that Sam, you should play some blackjack? Although I know the basic rules of blackjack, I have absolutely zero understanding of a good strategy or things to at all try and tilt the odds in your favor. But first time was coming back from yet another conference in New Jersey. Shout out to Focused AF, which is a first time running conference, which is always really tough to do. It was super fun, great group, small, but it was in New Jersey. And on the journey home, I was supposed to just, hop on a train, just like always. And the trains, there was a mechanical technical issue of some kind, and they weren't running. They just stopped.
Amtrak. Yeah.
It's not usually an issue. I haven't had that issue in a long time. But the problem with Amtrak is they never give you much like information. It's not like an airplane or an airport where they say like this is likely to be delayed 37 minutes, and then half the time at least maybe they're right. No, it's like expect a lengthy delay is what they say. It's like, what does that mean? So I was like, all right, I'm going to Uber home from Trenton down.
I still can't believe you did that.
Yeah, it was like $300. But I got to talking and to Antonio, my Uber driver, who was an interesting guy. He's currently trying to make it big, doing Forex trading. So that's cool. But he brought up he was a big blackjack fan. Then I was watching the Michael Jordan documentary from like 2017 or something. It's called The Last Dance, which was pretty interesting. I'm not a huge basketball fan, but it was kind of amazing how much behind the scenes footage they had from like the peak time period of the Chicago Bulls,
of the best team in basketball history playing together. Of course they had cameras. Come on.
But like intimate behind the scenes stuff. Like obviously, I don't know that people always realize what's happening in the moment of like something special here, but they clearly did. And they had a consistent film crew following them around through like this entire thing. But ended up being a really well executed documentary interviewing Michael Jordan now in his older age, kind of reflecting back, and a bunch of other players. It was cool, but his gambling hobby came up, and he had mentioned several times blackjack, which I found interesting. And then what was the third time? Now I can't remember, but it's okay.
Me, just now.
I suppose so. Yeah. That was it.
Okay, I can help out.
I've never really gambled.
Okay, I can help out. I've gambled twice, so you can trust me. Well, that's not true.
Is a thing.
I once destroyed a. So like remember growing up how there were like 12 computer games that you could play, right? Yeah. There, one of them was like poker. Hoya, whatever it was. Hoya's. I don't remember the name, but it was just like a casino, so you could like click in and just go play your games. And I got obsessed with Texas Hold'em on my dad's laptop. Gosh. Yeah, when we were, it was like he got one of the DC power converter amazing things for the car. like way earlier than he should have, right? It was like a massive brick, and I was like 8 or whatever. But we took long road trips every Christmas. We would drive from Idaho to Missouri to spend Christmas at my grandma's. So it was like 2.5 days in a car straight. And so my dad bought the DC converter so we could play on his laptop. So my brother and I, for like 3 years, just like sat with the laptop between us playing poker. Nice. And then I got to college and some friends were like, hey, man, let's play some poker games. And I was like, yeah, let's play some poker games. And then I wasn't ever invited back to poker game because it was just
too good.
Yeah, I just remembered the math because it's just math, right? Like your probabilities. And so I just remembered all the math. So you can trust me. If it's over 16, don't ask for more cards. That's it.
Fair.
That's pretty much it. That's the best help I can give you.
Yeah.
But also,
okay. That's sort of all I know. But I guess that's
okay. Well, now it's been reinforced. But
yes,
I have a very important follow up. Don't just don't gamble. Don't.
I thought you cut out on me.
No. No, I just had really great comedic timing.
I'm with you on that. It's one of the things I've always not enjoyed about both gambling and investing in general is the fact that at the end of the day, you have burned all these, brain calories trying to just really hope for the best. And when it all comes down to it, there's certainly strategy in some games like poker, but for the most part, it's still down to just luck. And, you have nothing to show for it at the end. I mean, if you win, all you have to show for it is more money. It's not like you have this cool thing that you can do something with. I mean, I guess you can go buy a cool thing.
I don't know if you know this, but money is a cool thing. If you don't have money, more money is a cool thing.
If I'm like, but it's so easy to spend money. Like if I'm going to put that much brain energy into something, I want like a really awesome thing that I can look at and be proud of as a thing, not just like a bank account that I can then go buy that somebody else put a lot of energy into making as a thing, like the Vision Pro. I'm going to be pre-ordering this Friday.
Oh God.
Would you like that segue?
I did. Yeah. Look at you. Yeah. Money. Who needs money? Anyway, I'm going to buy the $5,000 face computer.
Well, I may not. I'm rethinking it because one of my heat pumps went out, and I'm going to go ahead and swap out the hot water heater at the same time, which is going to be $2,500 just for the hot water heater portion of that this week. So maybe not. Maybe I won't. We'll see.
I believe like in our last episode last year, the pocketbook was closed. I remember that's how the episode ended, and now we're opening this year with. So I'm buying the face computer.
We can take this conversation in any direction you want, but the inquiries are rolling through. I'm starting to feel pretty solid for this year's bookings, and I think over the next month or so, should get another 10 or so weddings firmed up. I think, which will put me right at my perfect average of where I like to be. We'll see. A lot of last minute inquiries. I've had like May to just book. Like deposit paid done for this May. Like, whoa, guys.
I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to set up open up a, can I just give you, I don't know if anyone's done this or if it works because photographers can be weird when they're doing referrals, but has anyone ever approached you with, hey, if you're booked on a day, recommend me and I will give you 10, 20% of the booking?
Sure. Yeah, that's happened a few times. I also used to have my top tier on Patreon. It was a flat, $1,000 a month. You would get one-on-one mentoring, and any dates where that was the case, I would just refer to that photographer on that tier. So no calendar checking, nothing like that. Maybe you're available, maybe not. I would just send it along to you like it was any other referral from me, and you could book it or not. And I had a 3-year run where basically up until COVID, the same person was on that, and he built out quite a big side business with associates and everything on top of his own photography, using those extra leads combined with, what he was able to get from his own. And for me, obviously I was making far less than if I took like a percentage cut of each booking he was able to make, but there was zero work for me to have to track that or make sure they were being honest or any of that stuff. But it's a valid thing to offer if you're hurting for bookings and you want to approach an established photographer in your area. It's so tough to really track that, I think, unless you had a CRM that could facilitate it, which maybe they do. If they don't, that'd be an awesome feature for a CRM to roll out. It's like referral tracking, where it's completely secure and you can look at the stats. And the other thing you have to hope, though, is that at the end of the day, it's still on that photographer who books the couple to like flag that as an inquiry from you, and that can be hard to keep track of. So,
right, but not for me. That's not hard for me. Because I don't have real anything would be a referral, right? So like I was thinking about this. I was like, I don't want to do a real. I don't want to set up a real website and be like, I'm a wedding photographer. Let me do your wedding and like just field inquiries. But I am, continually meeting wedding photographers in the area, and I'm like, ooh. What I really should do is I should do a second shooter subscription service where you just pay $500 up front, and then you can flag me at any time. Hop me in. Yeah, man, I don't know. I was just curious if anyone's ever done that, because like it feels like if I was starting today, I would just make friends with 6 wedding photographers and be like, hi, refer me. I'll give you 25% for the first year. Next year it'll be 20%. The year after that it'll be 10, and it'll stop at 10. I'll just give you money all the time.
Yeah, that's a totally smart, valid way. And like I said, I have been emailed and approached to some degree, but it was never with a really like professional sort of, here's exactly how this is going to look out in play out in practice. Like, here's the system that we're going to use and how we're going to do it. And this is how it's not going to make more work for you. Just send me the referrals and be done with it, and I'll pay something. It just hasn't been streamlined enough, the actual systemization of how it's going to be tracked, to be compelling for me. But I know, people have done it. Yeah, for sure. But I also think there's a certain degree of pride there. It's just like the pushback that wedding photographers have against venues taking a cut of a booking for referrals. It can sort of have that attached to it as a thing. I'm purely guessing here, but it's not that different from a venue taking a cut. So I think a lot of photographers are just resistant to present it as an idea. But I don't know.
It's work, right? I mean, like I've done when we do like big referrals for projects, right? Like if someone refers a $50,000 contract to my content studio, you best believe they're getting some money back, right? And I never like say, okay, now here's your 10%, or whatever the percentage may be. But I do, if it's a friend who I know loves wine, I'm sending them $500 of very fancy wine that I love. Nice. Or if they love photography or whatever, I'm sending them a Ricoh G3X or whatever. GR3X, like a thoughtful gift that's very expensive, because if someone makes me $50,000 by sending me an email and giving them like, Daniel's the best, I want to thank them, and like I want to thank them with appropriate magnitude for the opportunity. And so I was just, thinking about applying that to wedding stuff, but I'm so tired already. I have so much I can't talk about right now that's in flight, in progress, that like exciting. I get to start talking about over the next handful of weeks and then months. And then in a year from now, I'll get to be like, well, that was the thing I mentioned January 16th.
Kind of remove some of the excitement there, but yeah.
Yeah, there's like a really pleasing marketing thing going to happen for me, where I'm planning stuff right now that's going to take a year to come to fruition. And when it does, I'll be like, ooh, that felt great. And people are going to hear that, and they're going to look at all the stuff I do over the next year and be like, is this the thing? And I'll be like, well, closer. And I'm
okay. Well,
but it also means that I don't have much to, I can't be like, well, anyway, hello. Let me tell you. But
well, how is the YouTube channel coming along?
YouTube channel's great. I'm almost at 420, #blaze it.
Triple check that I'm subscribed to you. What's your YouTube?
YouTube.com/@try.glass, I believe is what it's at. Or it might just be
Okay.
I should know that. Yeah, it's just Triglass. No dot at Triglass. There I am. Hello.
If I can't find you, then we need to change that name or something about your SEO. Oh gosh. See, the unfortunate part is that glass is in like everything.
The reason why I didn't like the name when Tom was like, it's called this, and I was like, no, it's not. And he's like, yes, it is. I was like, cool, we can fight about this later after we get this other work done. He's like, no, we can't. That's the name. And I was like, okay. Like, I have grown to appreciate the name for what it is and love it for what it is. But man, SEO wise, it's rough.
Yeah, that's rough. I still can't find you. I'm looking.
It's just youtube.com/@Triglass. That's it. Like and subscribe. It's you know what, Sam? Click the link in the description.
I got it. I found you.
See what I did there? There I am. I can't wait for you to never watch it because you don't watch YouTube. Don't watch the first one.
Some views. This is pretty good.
Getting some views,
relative to the subscriber numbers, you're doing great. I mean, I would say even awesome.
Slow and steady wins the race, right? Like, I'm the context in which I'm viewing this is like, okay, cool. I'm making a video every week for the next 2 years, right? Like, we will reassess at 52 videos to see how things are going, but like, we're not going to stop. And once we hit 100 videos, we can decide if we're going to quit or not, if it's working or not. And like, it's clearly going to be working enough at that point to keep going. And so it's not YouTube's a long game. It's always going to be a long game. And the reason, we didn't start 2 years ago was because I was too busy, right? I had too much to do. We were still building glass. We're so close. I mean, we're not so close to being done, but it's going great. So, next video or two, we're going to get over 500. And you know what that means? Zoom in on my face. You know what I really hate? The YouTube things, right? Like having thumbnail a silly design. Like having a silly thumbnail and make sure your face is in it and like clickbait your bullshit titles. I hate it. You know what works? It's that.
Yeah. No, unfortunately, you are up against everyone. So even if your content is good, now you have to be in like the upper percentage of people who try on the thumbnail. And then if you nail that, you've got to be on the upper tier percentage of people that try and do really well with the title. And it just, everything compresses down to just, you have to be firing on all cylinders all the time for a long time. But that's okay. You're doing great.
Just a little.
And once you systemize all those kinds of things where it's like a habit and you have like the templates built for all that stuff and everything, it does get profoundly easier, I think, just noticeably.
Yeah. Like our, one of the videos that I make every month now is I just walk through our monthly favorites. So like that has been historically the worst day of my month, where I have to winnow down from the 200 or 100 photos I have saved to the 25 to 30 that are our actual favorites for the blog post of like, hey, here are our favorites of this month. Like editing that down when all the photos are so good is like a miserable time. It is not fun for me. And now I get to add a YouTube video on top of it. But the first, so I've done two now. The first one took me like 3 days to get the post and the video done. And now it's down to just a day to get the video and the post done. And it's like, okay, cool. I already saved 66%.
Yeah, it definitely gets easier. Choosing your font and just all that stuff. I will say one tool that I didn't know existed that I don't think it's so relevant for you right now, but for anybody who has been posting on YouTube for a longer period of time or something like this, Google has a feature called Google Takeout, and it lets you download all of your Google data, including every single YouTube video, where it just aggregates all of it in one single post that you can download each and every one batch, like in bulk. So if you need to do like a massive archive because you're not good about saving your videos when you export them somewhere or what have you, boom, Google Takeout. Pretty great.
I love that. Love that. I mean, my whole 9 videos aren't going anywhere, but
yeah, you got time before that's going to be something you need. But I've got like a couple hundred, including just like tons of crappy, embarrassing ones from forever ago. But that feeling, I think, almost never goes away. I wonder, to like the pro level YouTubers now, if in a decade they're going to look back and be like, ooh, those aren't so good. But I guess I don't really have that feeling with my photography. Past a certain year, I think it did hit where I was consistent and professional enough that looking back even now, I'm like, man, maybe I should go back to that editing style.
Yeah.
I think you do kind of hit a plateau or a certain threshold of
competency.
Are all good.
Yeah, right. Like where you're good enough
Hopefully.
that you can just keep going. And so you plateau at a certain, or not plateau, but like your base is acceptable to you. I'm not there yet. My base is still like, I would say like 75%, 60%.
I'm not there
where
yet.
I want to be.
I still want to, I lean a lot on the fact that I have such a unique, wonderful backdrop surrounding me in the A-frame of my home. Without that, I would have to do a lot more B-roll cutting in and stuff like that, I think, to hold anybody's attention. And even with that fantastic backdrop, it's still like, I think if this is longer than 10 minutes, I'm losing everyone. Like nobody's caring to watch anymore. I need to make this more interesting content wise, or shot by shot. Anyway, but do you go ahead? Yes.
Oh, I was gonna share that I'm doing the real YouTuber thing in a week or two, and I'm buying a drone. Buying a drone that I will use once every 6 weeks.
Yeah, there you go.
With a little bit of B-roll.
You're not buying a drone. I can give you a drone. I got extra.
No,
drones.
I'm buying the drone. I'm buying the drone because I need that sweet 4K, okay. And your thing doesn't have that sweet 4K.
One of them might. I've got a lot of drones. I should check.
Okay, let me know.
The drones, I thought for a time I would use them at weddings, and then I realized like half the time I was in a no-fly zone, and I didn't want to take the liability or the risk of flying a drone while I'm working professionally and something happen and getting sued. So I just kind of don't ever fly them for work.
The latest drones that exist from DJI are like under the 250 gram limit that require X amount of extra training and liability or whatever, but still have like 4K footage and a 48 megapixel nice photo. And I have a few things coming up, a few little biddies that I'm working on. I'm like, you know what? Unfortunately, a sweeping drone shot will look sick here. And, you only live once. I'm YOLOing myself into purchasing a drone that I'm going to use once every 6 weeks. Because it's going to be the right tool for the job.
Fun in the beginning, especially just because it's just like, wow, this is a remote control, very fast flying, cool thing. And Baltimore is a little more flexible as long as you don't get near the airport. A little bit more flexible about no-fly zones. So you should have.
Yeah, where we live is a fly free up to 500 feet or whatever it is. The last time I flew a drone professionally, commercially, was in 2016 in Uganda. I was there making a documentary for a medical nonprofit. They were giving away healthcare to a village of like 2,300 people in rural Uganda to prove the government as a test program to prove that giving away free primary care was cheaper than letting people have nothing but still have to pay for procedures when they needed them. Okay. And it was really amazing and really fun. And so I got the GoPro drone, the very not long for this world GoPro drone. I want to say it was called the Karma. It came out. It was their first drone. They were going to take on DJI, and then they stopped making them immediately. But it had the stabilizer popped out and then was able to be used as a mount for your like handheld 3-axis photo stuff, and I needed that for the video. And I was like, okay, cool. I need a gimbal and a drone, or I can just buy the one. I'm just going to buy the one. But then I sold it immediately upon returning. But I have like a photo somewhere that exists in the world where I gave it to a nun, and she flew it and like had much joy. Sister Julia flying a drone, and like anytime we flew the drone, right, like children from everywhere were like,
oh, I'm sure,
and,
yeah,
it was amazing. So like all of these drone footages of like following a single person walking along a dirt road in the middle of nowhere, Uganda, right behind me were like 100 children just in a perfect pavilion watching it happen, and it was a really fun environment to work in.
That's adorable. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was really
story.
good. I took like 8 photos. It was a huge bummer because I was like there specifically to film, and so we were filming, from sun up to sundown for like 4 days straight, and that was it. Then we left. And so I have like 8 photos from my time in Africa, and that's disappointing, right?
That is disappointing. What I wonder about drone footage is, as epic as it is, and how much it like adds to interest in a video when you can cut it in with your other footage, blah blah blah. I do wonder, for the average user, how often are they? I guess I always wondered about this in general with videos. Like, how often are you really sitting down and watching that clip?
Yeah.
I
think in general,
I think Apple really nailed it with their kind of screensavers on Apple TV of being just super slow, beautiful, almost like a moving picture, more than like a you know what I'm saying. It's hard to describe, but it's a fundamentally different thing than like watching a video, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I worry about that with my own anything, right? Like how often the only photos that I look at on my phone after taking them are like photos of my dog, right? Like I look at all the photos of my dog while also petting my dog and being like, holy hell, look at Poncho. And then I'll be like looking at photos of Poncho while petting Poncho and looking at Poncho. But other than that, I'm like, I take my photo, I take like an individual photo of a concert. Oh my God, I shot a concert the other day. That was weird.
Oh. With which cameras?
Just the GFX and the Midicon. You know how fun it is to manually focus
at a concert.
At a concert,
I'm gonna go and say a lot of throwaways. How did it go? Although maybe it was better than autofocus trying to like figure it out for you in some ways.
Yeah, not as many throwaways as you would think. It felt really weird, right? So I got my start in concert photography, designing. I like started designing posters for the local concert house when I was like 13 in exchange for free tickets. And then the photographer was sick one day and he was like, do you know how to take photos? And I was like, yeah, I can take photos. I'm cool. And so then I started taking photos of like screamo bands in Idaho. And then I started working at my dad's Christian radio station. So then I started taking Christian concert photos. So it was like Christian concerts in churches or screamo bands where like the lead singer is jumping on me. And that's how I got my start. And so it was 20 years ago. It was 20 years ago that I started shooting concerts. And so I wanted to see like, okay, it's been a long time since I've done this. And this was my thing. Let's see what 20 years of experience in life and being an old man, not a youth, feels like. Weird is my answer. Yeah. Weird. It felt weird to not. What's the way to describe this? It felt like I didn't know how to match the energy of the moment. Right. As like a kid, I was like,
sure.
Yeah. Really into it, and I was like, whoa, everything is amazing. I'm like losing my hearing and I'm full of joy and excitement. And like,
maybe it's different now because your hearing is gone.
Right. Yeah.
Like, this isn't as cool as it used to be.
And so, like now I'm wearing my AirPods Pro with noise cancellation on because they're better than earplugs, and I'm like hanging out, taking photos, but the experience for my like physicality was like way different than what it felt like as a kid. And my nervousness wasn't there, right? Like I was nervous all the time as a kid because I was like doing a thing that I wasn't either skilled at or was still learning, or I didn't have any of that. I was like, no, I know a lot of these photos are going to be amazing, right? Like I'm going to get 50 deliverables for my friend that they're going to be able to use on their social or whatever. here you
That probably
go.
ties into the feeling of now. Like often feel that the emotion of being nervous typically signals, I think that is a real-time feeling of growth. You are getting all these new memories, this new sense of what it's like to be doing this thing emotionally, and it comes out as what we describe as nerves. But once you immediately, like once you do that thing again, you already have you have an attenuated uh, feeling of that nervousness and anxiety. And the more you do it, and the older you get, and the more confidence you have, the less the more that goes away. And so when you're there now, 10 years later, you don't have the nerves, so you're not feeling any real particularly meaningful area of growth unless you did something or used a piece of equipment like manual focusing the Minicon on Fuji or something that would make you excited and nervous. I don't know, that's not necessarily a bad or sad thing, but it would definitely be, that's obvious to me why it would hit different now than back then.
Yeah.
It is an odd thing. Like every time I've gone back to my college campus, I've always described it as I just feel like a ghost now. Even a couple years after graduating, I was walking around like I feel like I'm a ghost walking through this place. Even though there were a few professors and a few like administrative staff that I knew and could see and they would recognize me, I still felt like a complete ghost. There was zero chance I was going to stumble across another student or a friend the way that I was used to being, on alert for, just walking across the campus. Zero chance I was going to see anybody that I knew. And it just felt like I had died and come back to haunt this place. It's very odd.
Right. I dropped out of college after like 2.5 years. But I went back for my class's graduation to like celebrate my friends. And like my closest friends, it was amazing to see them. Hooray. But my periphery friends, right? Like the friends I was friends with because we were in rock climbing class together, or the friend that like I helped with photography stuff. But since I wasn't there, they didn't care. It was weird as hell to see them. They were like, "Oh, hey, man, I forgot you existed." And I was like, "Yeah, me too." What have I been up to?
I had a friend talking about somebody who they had like I don't know, that some random family friend, maybe through their church or something, lived with them for like months in their basement, like 3 or 4 months. And this is probably 20 years ago. And they were asking their dad, like, "Hey, that's Greg in a photo or something like that. Like, don't you remember him?" The dad was like, "No." It's like, "He lived with us for 3 months." And the dad was like, "I don't remember that." It's like, this is you in a photo with this guy that lived with us for 3 months and you don't remember. Memory is a scary thing, not gonna lie.
Yeah, brains are weird.
But yeah, they are.
Yeah, so like because it's no longer a core part of like what I'm doing every day or what I'm like aspiring to do. It was like a really weird thing to like step into the motions of like, yeah, I know what I'm doing here and like I'm really competent. And there's like half a second where I was like nervous about pulling autofocus, but I've gotten really good at pulling autofocus on or focus on the Minicon now, right? Like I
focus speaking, like, man, after just a couple hours of practice, you got to be leaps and bounds better than old film photogs used to have to be with their rangefinders.
Yeah, exactly.
Layer one over the other. Yeah.
And like, I know where things are, it's gotten to the point that now when a photo is at a certain distance, I can, I can tell, what it needs to look like fully zoomed out, so I don't even have to like punch in to like make sure I've got it. I can just be like, okay, I know that the edges of this thing are looking this way because this part's in focus now, so just click. And so like it's fast, and so like that was like really nervous for the opener because I shot the openers to make sure that I still knew what I was doing, and then I was just like sitting down at the edge of the show and like having a nice time, really enjoying the music. Like, holy hell, these people are ripping it up. But like, it's just not because it's no longer my thing. I was just like, this is nice. I'm glad I'm here, I guess. Hooray. As opposed to feeling amazing or like, I was making the best thing of my life.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And now I'm 16 days into taking a daily photo, which is a 10-year ago thing. It was decades. I had like this moment where I was like, oh, this podcast is going to be about decades. What were we doing a decade ago and 2 decades ago?
Oh, that's a very old person.
Here we are, decades.
I don't hate the name. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was doing like my last 365 project was a decade ago. And so I'm doing it now. And like my motivators are totally different. I knew they would be. I knew I would feel differently doing it. But like I had my first oh no, I haven't taken a photo today. I need to go take one. It's dark out. It's cold. It's raining. This is like day 12 or something like that. And my motivation for being able to get out the first time around 10 years ago was I'm cheapening my photography, right? Or like I'm shorting my photography. I'm still learning. My skills are coming up. Let's go. And like, so my brain immediately thought that thought as I was trying to talk myself into going out and taking my photo and not missing a day. And my brain was like, no, you're not. You're not doing that at all. You're full of shit, man. Like, you know how to take a photo now. Like, you're set. Your baseline is great. Going out today and taking this photo is not going to do anything for you. Like, you might make a nice photo. You're going to, like, the commitment will still feel good. The project will still feel good. And you'll be glad when it's done. But, like, the motivation to get out in the moment was, like, very different and very not how I used to trick myself to go out because I needed to care.
Do you have a specific and consistent part of the photography process that is always like kind of the peak favorite? Maybe not always, but reliably likely going to be sort of, oh, I love this feeling.
That's a great question. I like how my brain feels on the walk. Right, it's like I'm getting joy from the outing, right? Like having gone out, I really like once I like settle into the groove and just start like seeing really well, and that for like first 15 or 20 minutes. So I like that part, but that doesn't strike. That's like a calm feeling. Right, I feel calm. I feel
half of that could just be the act of walking because it
right,
sounds.
Exactly.
I mean, that's a similar feeling to yeah.
So like there's like a calmness that happens, but like the joy and excitement, it's like a different. You know how like people say that your love changes when you're like 12 to 18 months into a relationship, and then it's like a long-term commitment versus like this passionate, whoa, amazing thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like in that phase of photography where it's like, no, I love this. I know I love this. I know that it makes me feel good, even though I'm not like losing my mind over, either a single photo or taking photos at like a concert or whatever. But then to say all that, right? Like I also took a photo last night that I lost my shit over. I didn't realize it in the moment. I took the photo and I was like, oh, that's a really good photo. Great. Let's keep going. It's cold as hell because it's snowing a lot in Baltimore right now. It looks like it finally stopped snowing, but we got like 5 or 6 inches.
It's crazy.
In the harbor.
I did not expect that. Was it me being just like my news consumption being completely locked down more recently, or was it just a surprise to everybody? Because I'm like,
yes.
What?
The answer is yes. Okay. Because it was supposed to snow a lot last night. The part that was a surprise was that it started at 8 a.m. instead of 8 p.m. It was supposed to snow from 8 p.m. to like 2 or 3, but instead it just snowed for like 24 hours straight. And so like the severity and amount of snow was the surprise. That it was coming was you not reading the news.
Okay, I had no idea.
Yeah, that's so crazy. We have a very big snow, and so like I went out and took photos multiple times yesterday because it was snowy, and like we don't get heavy snow in Baltimore a lot. And that
especially
felt like
white fluffy stuff.
Yeah, exactly, like a full one where it sticks and is like thick and is snow photo. So like I am really excited about a project that I've wanted to do. I wanted to do a 4-photo project of a time of seasons. And so I was like, I need the winter to be winter to be able to do this. And then it was. So I got the photo to kick that off today. And I feel really fun and excited about that. But then I was just like cold, right? So last night it was like, 25 and snowing a lot. And there was 4 inches of snow on the ground. And I just went out and had like a really nice time. And I took some photos that I thought were really good, but then I came home and one of them like made me lose my shit. And I like posted it to Glass. It was the last photo I posted. But it was just a, traffic light in the snow, but the red light lit up the snowflakes. And so there's just like a pretty nice red beam sticking out of and it was just like really good. And I spent way longer editing that photo than I edit normal photos, right? Like my
Nice.
normal editing process for a photo is 60 seconds tops, right? Like
Okay.
I don't get a lot of joy from editing. My purpose for editing is making the photo look like how I saw it in real life, and once I achieve that, I'm done, right? I don't spend a lot of time. But I spent some time with this guy, and I was like, oh yeah, and like that felt really good. It felt really weird. I don't know. It was like a bright spot of joy. That's been a thing that's been like coming up a lot in my own therapy, where I'm like doing these things that are like life. I've wanted to build something like Glass with my friends for my entire life, right? Like my entire professional career, I've wanted to work on this type of project. And now I am. And I have been for years, right? Like we're coming up on year 3 of Glass this August, and it's been being built behind the scenes before that. And all the stuff that we're doing with the Glass YouTube channel this year is going to be bananas. I'm gonna travel and do some really cool little videos with other members and really fun things. And then a project I can't talk about yet is like coming together, and I'm gonna lose my mind. It is literal dream stuff for me. And man, I don't feel it. Right? Like I'm like
sucks.
Well, no, I'm like excited about it, right? Like in passing. Or like I know that I'm like really glad to be doing this work, and like I have no lack of motivation to do this, but I do have like, it feels like the joy should be like a higher, like easier thing to grab than I'm trying to like.
But it never is. It never is. This is why super famous people kill themselves at 27, because they have this realization that like I keep chasing this feeling, and it never is a feeling. It's an idea of, I mean, obviously I'm using an extreme example here, but
yes, you are using
it's the thing that you realize looking back, which is one of the things I'm very grateful about. The fact that like photography by default kind of gives you a shortcut into quickening. You're never going to feel it in the moment, in my belief. Like you're never going to be able to appreciate fully as much as you wish you would have looking back. But I think by the nature of things being a moment captured in time, as what we do, we do get a shorter time frame that can be appreciated and realized. I think that's kind of how that plays out. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's my opinion, perhaps to some degree as well. But that's what I found in my own life. Can I just say my favorite part still to this day, although I guess it took like 3 or 4 years that I started to realize this, is the editing of the photos. Sitting down, not actually even like the process of editing, it's sitting down, looking at what my photos look like with my baseline preset applied. I freaking love my editing style and my overall preset in a way that just took me years to get used to and stop tweaking. And, maybe if I do tweak now, it's very, very incremental. And now I just get to play. And there was another photographer I was teaching a workshop with where he said, past a certain point, you need to be able to trust your editing or trust your preset, because your editing environment, the screen you're using, where that is relative to the ambient light around you, your mood, which is way harder to measure, are going to influence and change how your decision making as you edit in a way that's going to cause, if you're not careful, huge shifts. Which is why a lot of photographers in their early years buy a billion different presets, because one day you're in the mood for this one preset, and then the other day you're like, oh, you know what? I want this other one. So you're just all over the map. And a lot of that is just literally down to your mood. And what's cool is once you've kind of settled on an overall baseline starting point for how you like to edit, you can start to trust that is 90% of your look, and you can make tweaks based on your mood from there, which is only going to hopefully impact, that 10% difference. And then over time, maybe it'll change overall, like 1% a year or something like that. These are just, I'm using these numbers for illustrative purposes, not literal. But I've just been so happy since, and it really all came together for me when Adobe created the ability to embed a LUT in the camera calibration profile. because there were other apps I was using where there would just be something of a different interpretation of the colors, especially, well, I always say it's like the reds, but really it's every color channel would just be interpreted in a way that I really liked a lot more than what Adobe would provide. And being able to capture that as a LUT and then edit and blend against that all within Lightroom itself has just been so great, and also added an extra layer of uniqueness to my color output that I've always been searching for, because I'm never going to be able to design and create my own sensor. Using an embedded LUT does give you kind of a deeper layer of customization to how colors can look, which can also go wildly bad if you don't work enough at it. But
yeah,
for me, it's really not the process. It's like, ooh, how's my preset going to look on this? Like, it already looked good in camera. I cannot wait to see this thing fully edited and fully realized. It's, yeah, for me, where it's at.
I know I should get a preset, like make a preset. I should do that work. I know that I should.
Yeah. It's maddening, though. I will say it is totally maddening for months.
And I'm not using it every day. Well, I know I am, literally, for my daily photo. But I mean, like, I'm not using it every day for work, right? The maddening.
Sure.
It's hard for me to do things in photography that I hate when it's not paying me to do it. You know?
Yeah, of course.
Right. Like there are so many parts of my job. This is a literal dream job.
Common feeling for people to, not enjoy things that they hate in any way, but I see what you're getting at.
Right. Like, I mean, dream job. But I have parts of my job that I hate, right? Like that I just don't like to do and that I do anyway, right? Like, I don't like answering support emails, but I do it anyway because, like, I'm the most qualified to do it, right? Stefan's a Dutch engineer. He'll just be like, yo, what's up? Why is this broken? And Tom just hates it, right? I'm the best person for the job. But I hate it. I don't like it. It's not fun for me, but it's still like a thing I care about. So I do it. But like making a preset and like tweaking individual little levers to get like 2 points more red and a little less green or whatever sounds terrible to me.
It's
Can
bad.
you just make me a preset?
If you do start this process, here's what I recommend. Create a collage that you can set as your desktop background, or just open up and have in the background somewhere that you can easily snap to. Make a collage of, 15, 20 photos that you really, really like the edit of. Try and have it be a consistent subject matter so that it's not all over the place, but it could be more than one photographer as long as they're not wildly different, I would suggest. But maybe keep a same or similar color palette. So like trending toward maybe greens or reds or whatever across all those photos, and have that be the thing that is your reference. People that mix songs and records do this all the time, where they'll pull up the mix of a similar sounding song in the same genre of another producer, or maybe something they've made before that they're really proud of, and constantly use that as a reference back and forth to kind of cleanse their palette as they're working on that current song. Do the exact same thing visually with photographs that you like. And it can be your own work if there are photos where you're like, everything came together in this edit. I don't even remember why, maybe, but I want that up as like a visual palette cleanser to reference against. And do that. That's also tedious. That's not fun to make a little collage and do all that. But I highly recommend it, just to have something to reference, other than, because it's going to take exponentially longer if you just try and edit something and then come back to it later and you're like, oh, I went too high with the reds, and then you dial it back, and you have no frame of reference other than the thing you're editing itself, which is just a recipe for pain. It can work. And I've spent years doing that before I realized, like, oh, this method that I used to do when mixing songs, like, why am I not doing that with my photos as well? It's so silly. So it'll also give you a good sense of like where your shadows and blacks should be cut off if you want muted shadows, or just like how contrasty the overall thing should feel if you want to mute your highlights so they have a little bit of a washed out effect. All of that is hard to keep track of unless you have another visual reference. Does that all make sense?
Yeah. But it sounds dumb.
It's so tedious. But the payoff, I'm telling you, the payoff is huge. Like once you get past that inconsistent sort of, now I got to edit it and I don't know how long it's going to take. The beauty, especially of committing to sort of a consistent baseline preset, is that you know almost with not every time, but near certainty exactly what you need to do to make that photo work. You can jump right in with no real guesswork about like where to go ahead and pull the trigger on a mask versus just lowering your exposure, or where to start adjusting the actual saturation slider instead of just leaving it and white balancing it a little cooler or something like that. It just makes it all so much more fun down the line the more you can practice using that same baseline preset. In fact, I'm not even sure, though I've said this over the years, that the dream is to like have a LUT embedded in your camera so you can see your preset through the live view preview. I used to think that would be the dream, but I think that would take away some of the excitement. I don't need to see critical anything as far as like what my white balance is or what the tone and edit looks like in my camera. It'd be nice to be able to export it and have it fully edited right on my phone the way I would do it manually anyway. But I don't mind seeing like straight out of camera flat files in the back of my camera because it is so exciting to see it later, for the first time right there in Lightroom once it's implemented. Yeah. That's an exciting feeling that, I'm sure it's a very small, but I think still in the same realm of a degree of what like film photographers would experience when they finally get to expose, after all the hard work of being in the darkroom, expose and see the print in real life. That's had to have been so exciting every time.
I know it made me feel alive when I was 12 in the dark room.
Can I show you? I don't think that I had this the last time we talked. So I found an Etsy seller that 3D prints a grip for the ZF, and it is my favorite grip, and it's $40. $40, and it makes the thing huge, but
it does make the thing huge.
Comfortable. It's so comfortable. I highly recommend it. I don't know who the seller is. All I can say is on the bottom it says 1 in 3D US. In 3D US. ZF. Anyway, it's awesome. I love it. So anybody's looking for a grip, look for this style on Etsy. It's very well built. $40. It's my favorite one, and it's the cheapest by a lot. The other two I bought, I think one was $70 and one was $100.
Well, we recently learned that you're the type of person to spend $300 Ubering from Trenton. So,
well, that was covered. I was paid to be at this conference. I didn't spend my money on that.
Oh my God, they paid for you to Uber from Trenton?
Yeah. Otherwise, who knows when I would have gotten home? Okay, let me. Can I mention one more thing before we wrap up?
Yeah, of course.
Have you seen Asteroid City yet? The newest Wes Anderson.
Beautiful, wonderful. I love watching movies about death.
Agreed. Beautiful, wonderful. Such gorgeous. I mean, he's almost parodying himself, though, in a way. It's getting kind of crazy how every single frame is like just an insanely beautifully composed photograph.
That's not a parody. That's deepening skill.
I know, but it just, I don't know how else to describe it. So one of the things, this isn't a good lens to demo this with, but the main character always wears his camera up around his neck the way a lot of film photographers do. And I've seen that over the years and it's fine. But one of the things I never appreciated about a film camera was that stylistically, I knew this was a thing that people would buy a Leica just because it looked cool and then like have it on their shoulder because it's a cool looking camera, like stylistically works. But I've never appreciated that because that's not why I buy it, more for the experience than just the visual, like fashion accessory aspect of it, I guess I should say. But with the ZF, it's definitely more in that realm because of the retro look and everything. Like it's making a stylistic statement in a way a lot of like my R3 does in a way that I don't enjoy. So what I did during this conference was wear my ZF up around my neck with a really small lens right close, like the guy in Asteroid City. And I found that it was an incredibly empowering, almost like cheat code to being able to take a picture of anyone anywhere and not have it feel uncomfortable. And maybe it's my own interpretation of it suddenly not feeling uncomfortable, but it seemed to be reflected in the expressions of the people I was photographing. Because the camera is already right there, all I'm moving is like 2 inches up to my, or a foot up to my eye, take the picture, and then it's right back down. It's always at the ready in a way that I found that every one that I photographed, I could just pull off a genuinely candid, cute moment, versus having the camera on a sling, like a normal shoulder strap, and then having to like bring it that extra 3 or 4 times distance up to my eye to then take the photo and then put it back down, where it's just removing this extra layer of friction, or I don't know, psychological barrier, when it's just sitting right here, just click and then back down. I loved it. I just can't tell you how many photos I was taking that I absolutely know for certainty I otherwise would not have. It was amazing. And so it doesn't work with huge lenses attached. Like right now I've got a 20 f1.4 attached to it, and it's super front heavy, and that would be very uncomfortable to wear. But the 40 f2 that it comes with, if you buy it with that pair, or a lot of the Leica lenses I have, like the 24-1.4, the Voigtlander 35-1.4, those are really, really small, and click right back down. And then you don't feel like a complete idiot, maybe a little across the line as far as the hipster thing goes, because, who else would wear a camera like that? But it's awesome. It really, truly works in a way that I was inspired by. Again, I've seen people do that, but that movie was something I watched a couple weeks ago, and I was like, I'm going to try that. Why not just choke it up really, really high around your neck? Don't let it hang really low. Right there. Loved it.
Are you finally going to say yay or nay to my question that I've asked like 7 times now? Are you switching to the ZF full time?
No, I don't think so.
Because you always say, no, I don't think so. But you keep doing things and talking about this camera like a man who's already switched. And so I'm just...
It's true. It has been by far what I've photographed the most with since. But here's the thing. I don't know. I'm so conflicted. I got to see what Canon's going to do with their next, I guess it's rumored to be called the R1, kind of the successor to the R3. But there is just something so powerful with the aesthetic of the ZF. And again, this was true with Leica cameras as well when I owned them. And I'm sure it's true Fuji and a lot of film cameras, where your subject that you're photographing seems to not be set at ease, but just seems to be a little bit more invested in making the photo work, or hearing what you have to say, or being more patient for whatever reason. I guess because they don't know if it's a film camera, or there's just this weird sense of slowness or nostalgia, even though this is not a slow camera by any means. It has the appearance of being more of a like craftsman type of camera, which I think does give you some benefits. But the R3, the gripped battery and all the other things we've talked about many times over, it's hard to deny the advantages there. So I'm going to bring it certainly to every wedding, and it'll probably be what I shoot the most. And I can see myself rotating to the R3 more for just dancing photos, something like that. So
I did not expect both. I know, like, I feel weird whenever I shoot, like...
Me too.
2 different camera manufacturers. 2 brands. I feel weird even 2 different cameras, right? Like the difference between like an R6 and an R3 is noticeable, and how you crop and how you
every time
frame.
You need to take a shot, you have to do that mental calculus of like, okay, maybe I should switch to this one. Why? And then I hate that. I'm with you.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Okay. All right. Well,
but if I can specifically settle on this is what I use and when. So a good example of this is the Canon's 28-70 f2.0. That lens I bring almost exclusively as a backup in case another one of my lenses completely gets stolen or broken. But it is my go-to in my mind when it's family photos time. Boom, I'm grabbing that lens. That is the use case for it during a wedding, or if it's something most commonly during the reception where I just a surprise is about to happen and I don't know what it is, I'm probably grabbing that lens. So if I can really, really define like where the R3 goes, so it doesn't even enter my thought as a possible option unless the scenario is happening, which is hard to do for a camera body because they cover a lot of scenarios.
Yeah.
If I can hit that point, I'll be much more comfortable using these blended. But I'm kind of just going to wait and see what the R1 looks like. I don't even care about the Z6 III, which a lot of people have said is rumored to come out this year. The ZF is just a completely different beast, just by the nature of how it looks and operates, than their Z8, Z9, Z6 III, and their other releases so far. So
yeah.
All
right. Anywho. Well,
we're back.
Yeah, appreciate you. See you again in a day or two.
Appreciate you. Stay warm. Okay.
Try my best.